And we have one more guest as our last guest on this election night edition of Larry King Live. Joining us from Little Rock as well is the very close advisor to President Clinton, maybe the closest advisor, Vernon Jordan. There he is. How do you feel, Vernon?
It's a great night. It's a great night for the president. It's a great night for the people. And it's a great night for the Democratic Party.
Are you surprised at anything tonight?
I am not surprised. It was what I anticipated. The president campaigned hard. The vice president campaigned hard. The staffers worked very hard. And as a result of that, we have a victory tonight. They ran on their record. The American people appreciated that record. And they want to see another 4 years of Clinton and Gore.
Are you bothered by the apparent may lose some seats in the Senate?
I did not expect that we would take the Senate. I do believe, contrary to others, that we will win the House.
You think you will win the House?
I do. Okay. Closely, but I think we'll win it.
You have, Vernon, in the past, we know that you were offered a few posts in this administration, turned them down to stay with that big law firm with Bob Strauss. Would you consider joining the second term?
I like what I'm doing, and I plan to continue.
Vernon, you know how the president thinks in the kind of inner Clinton, his soul. Was there a moment in the last 2 years where this really turned around for him?
I don't believe, if I understand your question right, Bob, that there was ever a moment when this president has not been confident, not cocky, but believing that if he served well and led well, that the American people would do what they've done tonight, and that's re-elect him for a second term.
Have you spoken to him tonight, Vernon?
I have, yes. He was obviously feeling very good.
How long ago did you talk to him?
I beg your pardon?
How long ago?
30 minutes ago, just before the announcement.
When you say feeling good, would you say real up?
Up. This is so different from last 4 years ago. But if you think about it, you're 50 years old, and you've been re-elected to the presidency of the United States for the second time. That's got to make you feel pretty humble, very grateful, and appreciative to the American people.
Thank you, Vernon. Vernon Jordan. We'll be back with our remaining question of Bob Woodward right after this. Five states' booths will be closing in about 2 minutes. Stay tuned to CNN. We'll give you projections and up-to-the-minute results right at the top of the hour with Bernie and Judy and Ken and Bill. Final question of Bob Woodward. Dole.
Yeah, not only did Clinton win, Dole lost. And I think Dole lost for a couple of reasons. The decency that the people who know him, that's really there. He never communicated, never proved it to people. I think he never answered or convinced people why he wanted to be president. And I think Dole, not an executive, he would not bang the table and say, you do this, you do that. And the inconsistency of his message in the campaign kind of took on a grandeur, and it was, what's he going to be doing now? What's the shift? What's the focus? He didn't define it.
Trent Lott says we will see a classy statement, will we?
Well, it would be the best thing he could do. I mean, he should not only get on the high road, he should get on the road that runs above the high road.
Thanks, Bob. Hope you enjoyed this. Got a new career here, Woodward. No. Bob Woodward, our co-host for the hour on this edition of Larry King Live. Stay tuned now for Judy and Bernie and Ken and Bill. And don't forget, 5 states' polls are closing as we speak. We'll give you projections and up-to-the-minute results. And if you're still online somewhere and you're going out to vote in California or Washington, Oregon, please go to vote. See you tomorrow night. Good night.
President Clinton has gone over the electoral top for re-election, 291 to 105, but don't let that deter you from voting in 5 western states.
CNN coverage of Election 96. Live from CNN Center, here are Bernard Shaw, Judy Woodruff, Bill Schneider, and Ken Bodie.
And if you're still voting, please remember the 5 states I alluded to: California, Hawaii, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska. Bill Clinton reelected.
That's right. 5 states. The polls have just closed in those 5 states. We're going to tell you shortly what happened, or at least what we think happened in several of them.
Right. So far, this looks pretty much like a status quo election to me. People are reelecting the president, and all the incumbents just about have been reelected all across the country for the Senate. We'll see what happens in the House as the night goes on.
We haven't mentioned yet Ross Perot. Let me just tell you right now briefly that he is pulling in the high single digits basically across the country, a little bit in the low double digits here and there.
Okay, now we have some states to declare, states with the polls having just closed. In the Hawkeye state, Iowa, President Clinton does as he did in '92. He wins.
In 1992, the Iowa vote exactly mirrored the national vote. 43% for Clinton, 37 Bush, and 19 for Perot.
Utah. This is a state that gave Bill Clinton his worst results in 1992, and once again, it's done the same. Bob Dole, the winner.
Worst results, I'm not sure yet, but it's not been a Democratic state since LBJ in 1964.
Bob Dole winning ditto in Idaho. 4 electoral votes, Bill.
Ditto in Idaho and Utah. Hasn't voted Democratic since 1964. Clinton only got 28% of the vote in 1992 in Idaho.
And Nevada, undecided. This is a state that was, I think Bill Clinton was the first Democrat in 28 years to carry it the last time. We don't know what's going to happen this time.
Well, our crack research team, Judy, tells me that Nevada has the highest divorce rate in the nation. And I don't know what that means exactly in terms of presidential voting.
Well, let's
find
move
out.
on to Montana then. We have to say Montana right now, undecided.
Big surprise in '92 when Montana voted for Bill Clinton. A lot of people think Perot's very high vote there, 26%, might have taken a lot of votes from the Republicans and helped Bill Clinton carry the state. With a lower Perot vote, can he do it this time?
And the state of Kentucky, President Clinton, the winner. This state keeps up its record of voting with the winner. What, again, over the last, this will now be 8 elections it's voted
That's
with
right.
the
It's
winner.
a genuine bellwether presidential state. Bob Dole said earlier this year, if Bob Dole wins Kentucky, I'll be president. He's not going to win Kentucky, and he's not going to be president.
I wrote down on this piece of paper 3 questions. If Clinton wins, will he get a majority, 50% plus, or a plurality as he did in 1992, 43%? If Dole wins, how did he do it? And do the Republicans keep control of Congress?
Well, the Republicans are doing pretty well in the Senate seats, where the House seats take a little longer to come in. Something interesting about this election, though, is so far in all the states that have been called, only one has switched sides from 1992, and that's the state of Florida. That voted for George Bush in 1992. This year, Florida, with probably the help of a lot of older voters, voted for Bill Clinton. Every other state we called voted the same way it did in 1992.
That's right.
Right, so it's right. It's a status quo election so far.
Okay, if you're keeping score at home for the president, these are the states won: Arkansas, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Illinois, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, and Missouri. And the states won: New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Vermont, Washington, D.C., no surprise there, predominantly Democratic in the district, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. Now to the Dole states won tonight: Alabama, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Nebraska, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. The Dole states.
Now, let's take a look at some raw numbers. With 29% of the national vote that has come in, you can see the numbers there. The president has 49%, Bob Dole 43%, and Ross Perot 8%. But again, that's with less than 30% of the vote counted. It's early in the raw vote counting. We're not going to know. One of those questions you asked a moment ago, Bernie, about whether he's going to go over 50. Right now, he's not.
Well, let's whisk you now to Frank Sesno and the Congressional Desk.
Thanks very much, Bernie. Well, what we can tell you at this time is that the Republicans are teetering on the edge of being able to claim victory, being able to say that mathematically they will retain control of the United States Senate. Let's take a look and tell you some of what's happening. First to Idaho. In the state of Idaho, a close race. Not really. Larry Craig wins. The Republican, he returns to Washington rather easily. In Iowa as well. Not much drama there in the end. Tom Harkin, actually there's a little bit of drama. Tom Harkin and Lightfoot there. Representative Jim Lightfoot in a close race, still too close to call. In Montana, Early days yet. Senator Baucus and Dennis Rayburg, still not calling that one for you. In New Hampshire, we've gone back. We're taking another look at this one. It's turning out to be a closer race than we'd anticipated between Bob Smith, the Republican, and Dick Swett, the Democrat. In Louisiana, a very close and hard-fought race there, and as you can see, with a little bit more than a third reporting, Woody Jenkins up over Mary Landrieu. To Colorado now. The Rocky Mountain State, Allard versus Strickland. Allard, the Republican, out in front, but still, again, very early hours, only 2% in, so that's one we're going to have to keep watching. South Dakota, Larry Pressler up against Tim Johnson, representative there. Johnson so far up, but again, very, very slim numbers there. And in the state of Maine, a very close race, but still only 11% reporting, so nothing definitive there. Susan Collins against Joe Brennan. Joe Brennan is very well known in that state, has been running since the 60s for one office or another. So in the Senate, the balance of power in the Senate coming into this evening was as follows. The Republicans, having held for these last few years 53 seats represented in red, 47 for the Democrats needing 3. In fact, 34 seats at stake at the beginning of this evening. That's the way it cycles through. 16 seats going to the Republicans tonight, 9 to the Democrats. The Republicans have picked up 2 seats. So as it now stands, the Republicans, as you can see, hold 50 seats, the Democrats 41, 9 undecided. Only 5 of those 9 remaining seats are Republican seats. The Democrats would have to pick all of those up if they were to now regain control or at least have a tie. The 104th Congress, the House of Representatives, into this evening, 236 Republican, 198 Democrat. All 435 House seats up for grabs tonight. That's the way it works. At this hour, the Republicans holding 127, the Democrats holding 108. What we can tell you so far is that in the freshman class, which we watch very closely, of Republicans, the Republicans voted in 1994, most of them are doing rather well. We have 23 of them who've won, only 3 of them who've been defeated. We will keep watching very closely to see what happens. I want to very briefly come over to Bruce Morton here. Bruce has been following the Senate. Bruce, what we've seen in the Senate, what we're teetering on, as we say, is certainty that the Republicans retain control.
Well, we've all been talking, Frank, about this being a status quo election, and in fact, that's pretty much what it's turned out to be. The Republicans have done well enough in those open Democratic seats in the South, taking 2 out of 4 at least. We don't know about Louisiana yet. And they're practically assured of control. The Democrats have to win everything that's in play, and they probably won't do that.
Okay, and we're going to be watching. We'll have more definitive word in the minutes and hours ahead. And that's it right now from the congressional desk. Back to the national desk.
And we have some news for you about the Old Dominion state. It's been teetering for now several hours, and we can report to you that Bob Dole is the winner in the state of Virginia. 13 electoral votes. This is a state that George Bush won in '92, and it's a state that is, frankly, dependably Republican, but it was a toss-up for a long time this year.
That's right. The rule is holding. This is a state that went for Bush in '92, and it's gone for Dole in '96. And it's also, of course, a big tobacco state, which probably hurt Bill Clinton.
The last time that state went Democratic was for LBJ in 1964, but Bill Clinton tried to put it in play this year. He visited Virginia, and the entire congressional cast of Democrats went with him and stood up on that stage, which surprised me, frankly.
All right, we want to go now to CNN's Bob Franken, who is over at the headquarters of the Speaker of the House, Mr. Gingrich. Bob.
Well, just a moment ago, Judy, the various people in the room, and the room is pretty crowded, as you can see, were hollering, "We want Newt, we want Newt." Well, Newt, House Speaker Newt Gingrich, has been sitting in his staff office after having a leisurely dinner, and he is contemplating exactly when he wants to come out and talk. The cheering at the moment is not just for him. They're just cheering because they're pretty happy, first of all, because he's going to be winning his congressional seat here quite easily. What Speaker Gingrich is probably waiting to do right now is to see the concession speech from Senator Dole. There is concern in the Gingrich camp that, in fact, this early result could have an adverse effect from their point of view on the West Coast. That is to say that discouraged Republicans would decide not to go to the polls, but in fact that could affect the balance of power in the House of Representatives. Bernie?